In the last 6 months, the company that I work for, which is Corporate Staffing Services, has been hired by 3 major banks to help them with the redundancy process. So they are letting their staff go, and as we are coming on board in terms of advising the staff who are affected on how to transition now to the job market. So the banks called us to empower the staff on CV writing, interview, coaching services, and even how to approach the job market. And whereas we've seen more requests during this COVID period, even before COVID, I would say from the year 2017, the request to assist the banks with the redundancy process had sort of started to pick up as opposed to the other years. So today's video, I'm going to address the main issue about banking as a career and some of the jobs that I believe are at risk, and the reason why these jobs are at risk, and finally my advice to professionals. What can you do if you are in these jobs? What can you do to be able to safeguard your career? So when I talk about banking as a career and the jobs that are at risk, I'm talking about jobs which are mainly in operations. So think about cashiers, think about personal bankers, think about the credit staff, think about the customer service, the branch managers, even the relationship managers to a certain extent. These are the jobs that I've seen are really at a high risk. And a lot of retrenchment that is happening at the banks, you find that these are the professionals who are highly affected. So it's not to say that the ones in IT, finance, or even HR are not being affected. They are, but you find it's not, the numbers, they are not as large as the people who are in operations. Because what happens is if you are reducing your branch count, then you find even the HR department will be affected, because at the end of the day, the people in the HR department, one of the criteria is how many people are they overseeing. So if a bank had, let's say 2,000 member of staff, and now they have 1,500 member of staff, they're also not going to have as many HR people supporting that number, because the number has drastically reduced. Yeah. So all professions are at risk one way or another, but some professionals are really at a greater risk. And what are some of the reasons that have led to this? Number one is digitization. And when I talk about digitization, I'm talking about the M-Pesa phenomena here in Kenya and online banking. I was just discussing with my colleague, and she was saying that nowadays she doesn't go to the bank. Why? Because now M-Pesa, there's a connection between the M-Pesa and the bank account. So you have access to your bank on your phone. So why would you need to go to the branch? And then it goes without saying that if I'm not going to the branch, then it means the people who need to serve me at the branch, they'll definitely reduce. So a counter, if it's a branch that had 10 counters, now you'll find they only have 2 people manning 2 counters, because the banks, they don't have as many customers visiting as it were before. Still on digitization, also online banking, this has really helped the businesses and the high net worth customers. So you find again, we are able to apply for all manner of services, using the online banking, whether it's credit facility, whether it's the overdraft, whether it's even investments. Nowadays, they are happening online. So with that, then you find the paperwork has reduced, and so the number of staff definitely will be impacted. The other reason is competition. So banking is one of the sectors that has really faced a lot of competition. So I would say in the last 15 years, you've seen many indigenous banks coming up. So nowadays, if I ask you, what are the top 5 banks in Kenya? You tell me KCB, Cooperative Bank, Equity Bank. So the multinationals nowadays, they are not occupying the top positions. And one way that a bank becomes competitive is being able to offer their services at a lesser cost, at an efficient level. And what does that mean? Obvious, staffing is a big cost to the bank. So if a bank is to remain competitive, One of the reasons is to employ lesser staff and have these staff doing more. And I remember there was one time, even a cashier was calling me, trying to sell me to a loan product. And before then, you'd find two people doing those jobs. So you'll find someone at customer service, someone who's a cashier, and they'll be doing their job. But nowadays, you find it's common. You find even this cashier has a target in terms of the number of loans or even the number of accounts that they need to bring on board. The last thing that has really changed banking is COVID. Why? Because the few people who are not as embraced digital banking, that is the online banking or the M-Pesa, have now, because of COVID, being forced. So that has really worked for the bank, in the essence that now all the customers, the banks no longer need to convince customers to go either online or to use the M-Pesa services. And I have many friends who now, if I call them for anything, for any service, they'll tell me, Perminus, I'm working from home. And guess what? The decision makers at the bank, they've sat down and they've realized, wow, for a department where we needed 10 people, we only now need 3 or 4 people. And unfortunately, you find the casualties are the members of staff. So COVID has really dealt, I would say, a big blow to the banking industry, but more so in terms of the staff. Reason being, the banks, they're really enjoying, because if they're able to offer the same services they're offering to us digitally, and we don't have to go to the office, we don't have to use their pens, we don't have to use their paperwork, then you find them, they are making money. But unfortunately, they're also looking at the other side and saying, if I don't need this staff, then I just need to send them home. I need to declare the position redundant. So I would say those are the main 3 reasons that have really changed the banking industry and are greatly affecting the staff who are working at the customer facing or the operational level. So what would be my advice for you? As a professional, what can you do if you're watching this video and it has sort of woken you up? Because this is not going to change. It's not going to change for the better. We are still going to see more job losses in the banking industry for those who are in the operations department. So what can you do? Number 1 is to know that the tsunami is coming, and within the next 5 years, banking will have changed. Just like we've seen changes in the digital world in as far as media consumption goes, it will be the same thing. Come 5 years, everyone now will be relying on their mobile phone and online banking for their banking service. So it's not going to change. You just have to accept the reality. Okay? And with that, then the second step you need to take is be able to identify your transferable skills. My first employer was a bank. So when I'm talking about this topic, I'm very passionate about it. I have friends in the banking industry, so I understand where you are coming from. And so my advice is sit down, be able, either with the help of a professional or even you yourself, you can try. Just be able to list down your transferable skill. Because if you've done customer service in the bank, there's no reason why you cannot be able to work as a customer service in another industry. Same case, if you've been in sales in the banking industry, the other industries which are looking for are sales professionals. So indeed, it's possible for you to transition from the banking industry to another sector. And I would say this is where you start looking after your own interest. The earlier you do it, the better, because it's easier for you to look for a job when you have a job, as opposed to starting to tarmac when you've been raided. So the earlier you do it, you do have peace of mind, you're not under any pressure. So start identifying your transferable skills. Look at your CV. When you're writing your CV, don't use the banking jargon, the language which only bankers understand. Try to simplify it such that, yes, I can be able to see your customer service skills. And whether I'm in manufacturing, whether it's even a non-profit industry, I can be able to see the value that you are bringing on board. And lastly, you do have to be realistic. Banking is one of the best paying professions in Kenya. So you might find for a job, let's say you are earning 100,000, you're in customer service, earning 100,000, you have to really be realistic and know that chances are, if you're looking to be competitive, get back into the job market, you may not start at that 100,000. You might have to start maybe at 60,000, 50,000, and then be able to climb, be able to get to that level of salary you were at before you left the banking industry. And the other thing is also, you do have to be realistic. Sometimes people out there, they look at bankers, they think bankers are spoiled, okay? And why? Because you used to seeing you in your nice offices, nice attire, nice outfit. So just get to understand that at the back of your mind, know that people have certain perception, and it's for you to try and to fit into whoever is looking to hire or whoever you are trying to market yourself to. So those are the few pointers I had for you. As I had said, my focus today was the banking professionals, and all is not lost. Yes, banking will never be the same, but all is not lost. And if you are watching me today as a professional, the earlier you start putting your house in order, the better. Because the bank also is taking care of your interest. The reason why they are laying you off is because they are looking at the interest of the shareholders. So even you look at your own interest. And at the end of the day, the earlier you do this, the better for yourself. Thank you for watching.